Very well. Hello and welcome to Patrick's Models and Transport, and welcome to episode 4 of the refurbishment of the Airfix station. So, this is going to be an edited video because I've got to the point where I have to go slowly and put my thinking cap on. So, as I've been painting this model, I've been sort of making my mind up along the road. Because in some points the paint was pretty thick and it's covered the brickwork effect, and I realised that that is actually something I was after, because in Scotland, considering I'm trying to make a sort of Scottish setting for this building, bare brick buildings are pretty rare because the weather, lots of horizontal rain, humidity, bad weather, and brick being porous absorbs water, and that would cause all sorts of humidity problems. I mean, there are humidity problems even without the brick, without having, uncovered brick. That's why most of the traditional buildings are also made in sandstone. And anyway, where the weather is really bad, there is generally lime render on the buildings, or the other type of hold on, and other types of plaster. Okay, excuse me, I got bamboozled with the words. So buildings I've got brick buildings in particular have plaster on them, so it can either be lime render, which is like this, white, which is also porous and allows the walls to breathe, or harling, which is a rough cast, which is a mix of lime render and chipstone, which is typical. And or else, if you unplastered buildings are generally the ones that are made of sandstone. But for example, if you're in a seaside area where there's a lot of salinity, or anyway storms, and or a very wet area, in particular the villages on the west coast. Not that the east coast is any better. I've been on the east coast of Scotland and the weather was fantastically wet. Picnics in the car and soaking wet, but that's how it is. So anyway, I'm sort of wandering away off the beaten track. So you can see here that it came really very smooth. So I painted, here we can still see the brickwork shining through. The base, the bricks here, this lower part of the wall here, I'll leave that, I'll paint that brick red. Instead, the upper part, I'm going to continue with more coats of paint until I practically fill in all the brick lines. And here there's only one coat of paint, so I'll be applying it thicker. And here you can see in this corner here, it's actually beginning to be smoothed out. So I'm just going to obtain this with paint. I'm not doing anything, no putty or anything that has to be sanded. Then the other thing, as I was saying in the previous video, I've decided to, because I like the idea of red windows, red doors and things like that. So the idea, I also had some look at photographs and videos of Aviemore railway station on the Highland Line, and that's red and white. So I'm going to go for red and white. The windows now, what am I going to do? I'm going to paint the windows white completely, the frames, just the window frames, not the doors. The doors I'm going to go directly red. Then I'm going to pick out, I'll just paint the window sills and the lintels red and the side frame here, leaving the internal part white, because that, making it all red, I think would make it look too heavy. This is what I think. Also because I've been looking at the photographs where generally the windows are painted white, and I thought to do this because these windows are kind of heavy like this. To make them, I could have even cut them out and made them would have been too much work, so no. So I'm going to just keep the border here red. That'll be a precision job to do with a very, very fine brush like this one. Like that, like this. I don't know whether to, I've not really made my mind up. I might it would be a smart and more intelligent thing to do would be to just paint the windows red and that's that, and forget about it and not go into excessive detailing. The thing is that I want to paint the interior as well, and definitely I'll be painting the inside of the windows white. They won't be red, because usually if the windows are a dark colour outside, they're usually a light colour inside. And I'll be painting the walls inside a kind of creamy colour to reflect the light. Up here I'm going to put a piece of card to just close that to make a flat roof. That'll be better, and I don't need to paint this stuff here. Anyway, it's not see-through, as I told you in the previous video. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to finish this coat of paint here, and then we'll have a look at the I'll give another second coat of paint here, pretty thick. The idea of I'll see what to do with these windows, because being dark orange like this, I could even just make them red and forget about it. I don't know, I'm like a cat on the door. The cat wants to go out, then you let it out. It stays there, what, 5 minutes on halfway through the door, and you don't know, do you want to go in, you want to go out. The heat's going out of the building in the meantime. Then it goes out, and then after 5 minutes it's there meowing to get back in. So I keep changing my mind. I'm like a cat. Very well, let's get some work done. Right, I've been gradually working my way towards the third or umpteenth coat of paint on this, because I'm gradually covering the brickwork effect as much as possible to obtain the traditional lime plaster effect, typical of Scottish buildings. Generally in Scotland, buildings are for, so of course if it's an industrial building, we'll have brick walls. But a building like the station or booking hall, you don't want humidity. So what am I doing? I'm applying still Vallejo paint with a very light dilution with this brush here. This is a brush. This is actually a natural fibre brush for watercolour that I bent at one point. This is a very good brush. I bent it to be able to, and I like working with this because you can really reach. Bending the brush allows you to work in a very, very well. You can do it even with a synthetic one, and then a nylon brush, but this is a brush I use for precision work and for quality finishing. So what I'm doing, I'm applying the paint pretty wet but thick, and that way it's drying and it's filling in the brickwork. Of course some bricks will be shining through, it doesn't really matter, but anyway, plaster is never very precise. See how I can go into the corners well with this. I have very good brush control. Here I have to go with a thinner brush. I have to get my thinner brush. Where's my thinner brush? This one here. Need to add a wee bit more paint because I'm really going wet here. See, I'm going really very wet to make a film, a real film of matte black. And then I'll pick out the windows. I've decided, I really made my mind up this time, looking at photographs of Aviemore railway station on the Highland Line. I'm going to pick out the windows in red. And I've already painted the back of the windows white, the window frames white. And also the window pane surrounds white. Then we'll do the external part red and the windowsills and lintels. And the gutters will be painted red as well. So any of this messiness, like in the gutter pipe here, won't be visible. It will be a very precision job in red. But it's pretty boring in the end. But now, finally, I'm beginning to be more satisfied by the result, because at one point I was really thinking I made a bit of a mistake, but no. And now I'm going to let this here, I'm letting each wall dry horizontal. That way it doesn't run, the paint doesn't run, it dries horizontally and it makes a very good film. I've got several layers of paint. A wee scabby bit here, but there. So that's very good. I'm going to let this thing here dry now. I'm just having a quick look over here. See, I've painted underneath of the canopy white. Then I'll pick out the brackets in red and all the windows and doors and things. So now that I'm here, upside down, working on this side of the building, if you look carefully inside there, I'm going to pick out the windows. And to pick out the windows in white, just the windows, I'm not going to bother with the doors. The doors I'll paint them red. I'll paint the wall a kind of ivory colour. I always do the interior. It covers the orange well, because it's good to have a lighter interior to I could have even slapped white paint everywhere, but there's no point in wasting white paint as an undercoat. So now I'm going to show you what I'm doing here. I'm picking out the back of the windows, and with this brush here it's very good because I can really do a good job. Because with low down videos at small person height, we'll actually might see the interior. Or I'm not picking, the doors will just be painted red inside. Apart from the fact that we're putting glazing on top of this as well, so technically it wouldn't even matter, but there. Anyway, then we'll be doing that. The bent brush does a very good job because I can actually hold it. It's a bit like a corner brush when you're painting ceilings. When you're working, I worked when I was a student, and even after, for years and years, I used to do, painting and decorating jobs. Well, anyway, then I started having problems. These problems that caused my wonderful walking with two sticks in 2010, and that put an end to the painting and decorating, and believe me, I don't miss it at all. It's a hell of a tiring job. But at the beginning I didn't really have so many problems walking. That was the thing that happened in starting from 2019. It really began, say 2018, 2019. There was a bit of a, I'm not here to talk about these things, but let's say that there was a treatment which didn't really work very well. It worked pretty bad. But I stopped, and that's it. And I don't do anything. And at least I limited the damage. So as I always say, it's better to be walking with two sticks than not walking at all. So I definitely don't miss painting and decorating. It's much better fun to paint a model railway station. But some tricks and tips that I learnt when I was painting walls, I still apply to painting models. Okay. Anyway, it doesn't really need to be super thin. Then I'll pick out the actual flat wall bits using this brush here with that very nice ivory bone white colour, which will do a really nice job. Okay, so that's that done. I'm going to let this thing here dry like this. Oops, I see a bit of a mess there. Okay, very well. And more or less I've sorted out all the walls. So I think that once this is dry, we should be able to start doing the red. I might do the interior first to get rid of the inside, the painting the interior, the beige, the ivory. Anyway, we'll close this video having a good look once the paint's dry. Right, so let's have a look at this station now that I've more or less finished with the walls. So you can see in this you can see in this video that the brickwork effect here has practically vanished. So we have a nice smooth effect to represent plaster, because I've decided to go for a Scottish setting, and generally, as I was saying in previous clips, bare brick is not common in Scotland. Maybe yes, for the base here and things like that. Generally, we have plaster, lime plaster on the building, or other types with chipstone and things. But anyway, lime based, so that the walls can breathe, but you keep out all the water. For some reason, in this point here, there's a point there where I have difficulty in covering the bricks. So I'm going to apply another coat of paint here, and I'll put it on pretty thick, same as I did over here. It's nice and smooth, to try and finish off this part here. Should this not work, should this not matter, should it not work, should this brickwork here always, there might be glue here or something, that's why, glue from whoever fitted the windows, and maybe that's why, even if there's this shade of bricks, it's okay, because it will look like as if in this point the plaster is coming off the wall. So this side here is really very good. I mean, if you look at it very, very close, you can still see some traces of brickwork here, but it's really very, very smooth, and sometimes brick does shine through the plaster. Sorry for the very bad camera work. So I'm not going to be adding any more. Here there's still some traces. But it's really very limited. So the next step is I'm going to paint the interior, and I'm going to add another wee bit of some more white paint here, and I'm going to give the underneath of the canopy another coat of paint. So the next video will actually be either painting I'll update you on painting the interior, which I'll paint kind of beige, kind of give it a good glowing effect. I'll fit a bit of card here to cover the gabled roof, because that doesn't need to be visible. And I have to I'll start painting the windows, the doors, the valance here of the canopy. I'm painting that red. So from a chromatic point of view, I'm taking inspiration from Aviemore railway station in Scotland. These are the advertising panels, which I'm going to paint red, because these are generally made of steel metal, sheet metal panels, and I'm going to paint these here red, and then I'll put some posters on them. I have some cut posters I can put that Ian Bugler 75 sent me. I'll be putting some of them, and there's a whole sheet of very nice posters or whatever. So we have, these will be painted red. The same as the doors, this fence, and everything else. Right. I hope you enjoyed this video. Then other thing, we'll be painting the roof slate grey, chimneys brick red, and the bottom here will be brick red as well. So that will be, and the brick red I might well weather it a bit as well to give it a kind of sooty effect. Right. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, you can give it a like, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, of course, and I am also looking forward to reading your comments. Cheerio, and see you next time.